Dr. SaltPaw, what motivated you to hire HPM?
I was just really having some difficult times managing it all. I would be seeing patients and getting calls and not getting back to them until a couple of days later. And I just don't think that it's a professional look, and you lose business that way. So, not looking professional and losing business are two huge motivators for me. And getting these services, which have been, I think, in my practice, really a game changer.
So, how has HPM improved your daily practice?
I have a partner who is kind of like, I think Jamie's got my back, right? And so when I get calls from patients, she's there to answer them. She's doing all of the stuff that I can't get to in the moment with patients reaching out to me. It's changed my practice because it gives me the ability to have just more time where I can like sit with patients, or more time where I can think about how to take care of the patients better. It takes the weight of kind of answering calls and getting back to people and scheduling off of me. I don't have to do that stuff. And so again, I have a lot more time just dealing with patients, or I have a lot more time where I can go out and have lunch, or, I do acupuncture and I have a nice table in my room and I can take a nap sometimes for 20 minutes on the reels. So I owe that all to HPM.
Could you share a moment when the HPM team really impressed you?
I think that it's kind of like every day. Like Jamie's just awesome. A specific moment where she's helped me. I live in White Plains, and a tree fell on my house. Huge tree fell on my house right when my kids were coming home. So it was right around 3:30, and I didn't know about it, and I was seeing patients, and so Jamie got to me because I was getting texts and calls from like the fire department and from my neighbor who was trying to take care of stuff at my house. And so Jamie was able to kind of coordinate all of these things, and relay messages to me while this was all kind of like going on. And that was so valuable. Obviously, like think about that. Like, you got a tree in your house and your kids are there. And, so that's not related to medicine, but that's what kind of like having an office assistant also can do for you. So I really appreciate HPM for doing that and being that there for me and like having my back with that.
Thank you. Right. So, how important it is that your receptionists understand holistic medicine?
I think it's very important. People call up and they're just not calling up to schedule. They're calling up to get information, and they're calling. I think a lot of times they get a voice on the phone and they just start talking, right? And they start like, telling them about what's going on. And my receptionist is very good at kind of like talking to them and meeting them where they're at and understanding what their needs are and telling them what service I have to offer, or whether or not I am the right person for them, quite frankly. And whether or not they should be doing acupuncture, or whether or not they should be doing naturopathic medicine, or both. And so I do think that it's super important, and it has been super important in my practice, that they kind of understand me, understand how I work, and understand holistic medicine. And I think that my receptionist, Jamie at HPM, is incredible at that.
Now, lastly, what would you tell other holistic practitioners considering HPM?
That I would say to them that I initially was kind of scared about the financial commitment, because I'm a small kind of like one single person practice, and the financial commitment was a concern. And I think having honestly, like having someone to schedule and patient calls has made me much more business than I could have ever imagined. So that's number one. I would also tell them that having a live person versus someone that was virtual, or a live person to interact with, versus kind of like one of these things where it's kind of like AI driven. They have these new things that are AI driven. I can't speak to that, but what I can speak to is that when I speak to my patients, they say, well, oh, I talked to Jamie and she said this. And so it's almost like they have a relationship with me and with her. And I think that's invaluable. I mean, how can it not be? Right. And so I think that what I would say to people is, if they're on the fence about doing like one of these other AI driven like ones, I think that the human interaction is so much more, so important. that, you know, your patient is calling in pain and a lot of times in suffering. That's why they call a naturopath. And just to hear an empathetic voice on the other end and someone who can say, like, yeah, yeah, I really hear that. Hey, Dr. Salpo's good at that. And like you, and they begin to kind of kick it. And they, in this way where, you know, like only a person can do. And Jamie's really good at that. And, you know, my patients are always like, yeah, you know, I talked to your secretary, Jamie, and she said this, that, and the other thing. And I just think it's an entry point for a relationship for me with me, right? It's you first speak to my secretary, and she kind of gets you all ready and gets you excited. And now, okay, here's Dr. Salpa. I think that that has been an amazing resource for me. So I think having that, because I thought about like one of those services where it was more like just seeing everything's AI now, and you know, this could be cheaper, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And so that's what I would have to say.